Welcome to Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon, the franchise that pioneered the tactical genre. In 2001, Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon defines the squad-based military shooter genre with realistic and challenging gameplay. As a powerful sequel, Ghost Recon 2 introduces a dynamic shift to third person and supports up to 16 players in enhanced multiplayer modes. Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter improves the focus on team coordination and features actual military prototype equipment and weapons. 1 year later, Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter 2 delivers a deeply immersive campaign and multiplayer future war experience with the ability to command supporting units. In 2012, Ghost Recon Future Soldier makes the shift to exhilarating cover-based gameplay with the inclusion of the sync shot, gunsmith, and adaptive camouflage technology. And in 2017, Ghost Recon Wildlands leads the tactical shooter into a breathtaking open-world experience to explore either solo or up to 4-player co-op, as well as in a tactical 4v4 PvP mode in Ghost War. And now, the future of Ghost Recon.
Hey everyone, my name's Emil Dalbon. I'm a U.S. Army Green Beret. I've served with Special Forces for 14 years and have deployed all over the world. I'm also very proud to be a writer on a new Ghost Recon game. Being part of the Ubisoft team has been an incredible journey for me, and we are so excited to share with you, our community, an experience that is going to bring players closer to real special operations missions than ever before.
When we launched Ghost Recon Wildlands, we released an action-packed, open-world military shooter that can be played in solo and up to 4-player co-op from beginning to end. We were completely blown away by your response. We are so grateful to our community that has grown to more than 15 million players. It's an honor. The stakes are high. Today, we're super excited to introduce a brand new Ghost Recon game to you. So let's get to it.
Our story begins on a remote island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean called Aroa.
The mythical golem was imagined as an artificial intelligence designed to serve and protect. The myth is now a reality.
This self-driving vehicle crossed the entire United States without a human touching the wheel.
The computer was creative. It outsmarted me every step of the way.
Entrepreneur, visionary, genius. Jay Skell is planning to change the world.
This is our first deployment of lethal drones. They have already saved countless U.S. lives.
From our new headquarters on Aurora Archipelago, Skell Technology will, quite simply, build the future. Skell-Tech drones will enhance industries across the globe. They will eliminate food shortages, heal the sick, and in time, erase poverty.
Mr. Skell, critics claim that with new autonomous systems, we risk summoning the devil. What do you say to that?
We combine AI and machinery to serve humanity peacefully. I am personally dedicated to keeping that.
Scary. Machines that can act together and react faster than humans.
They're cheaper and more efficient than any other measure. There's no doubt that swarm surveillance systems will reduce crime on our streets.
Would Mr. Skell care to comment on the recent assassination of a political candidate by a lethal drone?
Mr. Skell has no comment at this time. Lethal, autonomous weapons are being developed and deployed without oversight or limitations. They are the next global threat. The UN must vote to enact sanctions on the spread of these weapons. We must act now.
We've lost contact with Aroa. No way to reach Jake Skell. Yes, sir, I understand the risk level. We're sending them in.
The Ghosts are elite Spec Ops soldiers, the best of the best. But just how far can you push the Ghosts? How strong are they? How much can they take before they break?
A breakpoint is a forced posture change. Shift from attack to defend. From defend to withdraw. From recon to survive. It is the moment when a unit has lost its combat effectiveness. When it is no longer able to fight. The onset of this inability to carry out a mission constitutes a breakpoint.
This is Ghost Recon Breakpoint. In the past, the Ghosts had a plan. What if this time there was no briefing? What if this time the enemy expected them?
Let's start at the beginning of Ghost Recon Breakpoint. Your call sign is Nomad, a ghost sent to Aurora. You have been sent there for what seems to be a usual mission. But this is far from what is about to happen.
From this point on, all of your military survival skills will be put to the test. As you make your way through this mysterious island, you will discover the majesty, the beauty and diversity of this brand new open world. From snowy peaks to sandy beaches, jungles, deserts, fjords, even a volcano. But you're not on Aroa to sightsee. Nestled in a beautiful archipelago and driven by the singular vision of accomplished engineer Jake Skell, they develop AI and autonomous drones.
Skell's mission is to make the world a better place. But the road to hell is paved with good intentions. In the wrong hands, Aurora could turn into the most dangerous place on Earth. And it does. On Aurora, you are no longer the hunter. You are the hunted. And even worse, the hunters are a unit of elite Spec Ops soldiers gone rogue. They have the same training as you, the same experience. And they call themselves the Wolves. And they have taken over the island.
The Wolves are the most formidable opponents the Ghosts have ever had to face. Not only have they taken over Aroa, they've also reprogrammed Skell's drones to become powerful killing machines.
You're lost behind enemy lines. And your enemy is powerful and merciless.
So, Ghosts, can you survive your breakpoint?
Ghost 1-1, this is Ghost Lee. I'm 2 mics at your location, but I got something bad's on my ass. Rally on me to eliminate the threat.
Copy, Ghost Lead. I'm en route to ERP. Time now. Take cover. There's an Azrael drone overhead.
Copy that. Got him.
Ghost Lead, this is Ghost 1-2. We're en route to your location.
Okay.
I got eyes on you, Ghost Lead.
Copy. I see you.
You got 3 bad guys closing from the rear.
Nothing to report. I'm gonna continue my search. Reconning for location.
You have hostile to my right.
Copy. On target.
Ghost Lead, we're set.
I'm bringing the fight to you. Be ready. Get set, guys! Good cover. Bravo team will set a diversion at the gate. Me and 1-1 will infill the camp through the rear.
Copy.
I got 2 armed hostiles here.
I got right.
3, 2, 1.
Push up.
They got numbers. Bravo team, have eyes in your position.
Three hostiles. That's an Alpha drone.
Stand by. Ghost lead to initiate.
Enemy spotted.
Damn, there's nothing here either. Nothing ever happens around here.
We're target in sight. Set. I have the drone.
Drone's out.
Ghost lead. We're set.
Go, go. Let's move quick and quiet.
Where the hell are they? These guys are dead. All right, let's find these hostiles. Take point. Right behind you.
Bravo team, you have hostiles inbound your location.
Over here, I see him. Hit the target. What the?
What the fuck is that?
Stop them in their tracks. I got downers over here. Fight the door with someone.
Hold in place. We're almost there.
What the hell are you doing? I don't want to talk to them. Why are they doing this? Get them, goddammit! Hey, you! Eat this! have you covered.
Hostile down. Time to go.
Shit.
Everything you saw in this walkthrough was made possible thanks to one thing: experience. 7 years ago, we started Wildlands with a team of 30. We now have more than 1,000 developers focused on Ghost Recon. In the past 2 years alone, we've released 19 title updates. Breakpoint is bigger and better than anything we've done before.
This new game puts you in the boots of an elite special operations soldier. And on Aroa, you'll need every bit of your training and experience to survive.
The terrain has a real impact on your gameplay. It can be your enemy or your ally. You'll have to cross bodies of water and climb. Slopes will make you slide and tumble.
But you'll have the agility and new skills. With the prone camo feature, you can truly blend into your environment, using your surroundings to escape or surprise your enemies.
And to make the experience more immersive and intense, players can also suffer serious injuries. And depending on the gravity of the wound, players will need to adapt. Can they still aim their rifle? Can they run and escape?
Fortunately, you will also be able to heal yourself, either on the spot or in the brand new bivouac. The bivouac feature will allow players to rest and refit in the wilderness with their squad and do what real special operations soldiers do.
You'll have a wide variety of tools at your disposal. You'll be able to cut through fences, unlock a drone that will allow you to sink-shot several targets, even in solo, or use a rocket launcher to take down enemies.
But survival isn't only about fighting. It's also about stealth. You can pick up and hide the body of an enemy to remain undetected, or move your fellow wounded ghosts to safety.
Finally, you'll be able to play as multiple classes, and will be able to change class at any time from the bivouac. 4 different classes will be available at launch, with more to come.
The thinking behind many of these gameplay mechanics came from you, our community. Let's hear about how Ghost Recon Breakpoint has been inspired by your feedback.
You have been our secret weapon in taking Ghost Recon to a whole new level. First, Ghost Recon Breakpoint will feature a new main story with hundreds of cutscenes, dialogue choices, and more characters for you to discover.
The variety of enemies you'll face will keep things interesting, to say the least. There are many enemy archetypes with different abilities and weapons, and they're dangerous, like this armored behemoth that'll take strength and precision to take down.
Enemy behavior has also evolved. If you get spotted, or if they become suspicious, your enemies will now coordinate together to take you on.
Enemies will now always be on patrol throughout the world, A constant reminder that in Ghost Recon Breakpoint, you're the prey.
And to take them on, you'll now have fan favorites and all new weapons at your disposal.
The gunsmith will give you access to a ton of different attachments that'll have a lot more impact on weapon statistics and performance.
And you'll have even more options for character customization. And yes, this does include bloused boots.
You'll be able to explore Aroa on-road and off, by air and by sea.
And there'll be more military vehicles to traverse this new world.
Want to go fast? Take a Falcon. Want to plow through the jungle? Take a Fat Boy. Want to fight the wolves? Try a Locust.
Of course, Ghost Recon Breakpoint is fully playable in solo and up to 4-player co-op. And we are happy to announce that PvP will be available at launch for all players. But that's not all. You'll keep the same character throughout your whole experience in Breakpoint. This means you keep the same customization, the same skills, the same weapons, the same progression across the entire game. And this is just the beginning. Every 4 months after launch, we'll release a new, major expansion episode to the game. It'll include the very first raid in a Ghost Recon game. Here's a taste of what's to come.
A lot of people put tons of passion into the making of this game.
But we could not have done it without you, our community.
And so it is our pleasure to present to you our world premiere.
Our announced trailer for Ghost Recon Breakpoint.
An elite soldier. Trained to strike my enemies before they know I exist. Death stalks me. But I survive. Overcoming any obstacle. Never surrendering. And with my brothers and sisters at my side, there is no fight we fear. So when you take the life of my brothers, when you provoke me, it doesn't matter how powerful you are, I will burn your world to the ground.
I'm a ghost too. I would expect nothing less.
Ghost Recon Breakpoint is here, so strap on your boots because you have a mission. Stay tuned to hear more, live from our studio. We'll be there to answer your questions.
Hey guys, welcome to the Ghost Recon Breakpoint announcement post-show live stream from the Paris studio. My name is Grace. I'm one of your community developers on Ghost Recon, and I am joined here by two of our fantastic developers. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves and what you do on Ghost Recon?
Hello, I'm Matthew Tompkinson, and I'm Director of User Experience and Realization. So when we talk about user experience, I'm in charge of making sure that the game is easy to learn, even if it's hard to master. And for the realization part, it's more about the cinematic aspects of the game and making sure the full game feels cinematic.
I'm Joe Gingras. I'm part of the game design realization team. In a nutshell, we're sort of the visual partners of game design. We provide with the visual support that is then going to be able to convey the vision for the different game features. So concept art, storyboards, sometimes it's going to be schematics, video reference. And we're also in charge of the documentation or the reference material of authenticity. So we spend time with spec ops and essentially document what we're going to be discussing with them. Whether we're going to bounce ideas or mimic scenarios, and then we're going to film them, photograph them, talk about equipment, tactics, and techniques. And in a nutshell, yeah, that's what we do.
So you make sure everything feels good, feels like the authentic Spec Ops experience.
Yeah.
Very cool. So in the chat, if you guys are on the Ghost Recon Twitch chat, you can type your questions in. We'll do our best to get to as many as possible near the end of the stream. So make sure that you are active there. We will also have a giveaway. We will have copies of Ghost Recon Wildlands, but these ones are special because, oh boy, we have signed copies. These are signed by the man, the myth, the legend, John Bernthal, who plays Cole Walker, who you guys just saw. And it's also signed by the actor who plays Jay Skell and the male Nomad. So we'll have the giveaway towards the end of the stream, so make sure you stay tuned for that. And we will let you know when that is starting. So before we dive into some more topics in depth, why don't we do a quick recap of what we just saw in the video. We did see a lot, so I'll do my best to give a summary. Yes. So we saw there was a new mysterious open world in the archipelago of Aroa. There's going to be a new set of gameplay mechanics. We'll have stuff that really accentuates the military survival experience. We'll have fatigue and slopes, injuries, bivouac, train impact, prone camo. You'll be able to carry bodies now, which is very cool, and much more. As this Ghost Recon, you will be able to create and customize your ghost. And also a very cool announcement is that you'll be able to keep its gear, skills, and weapons throughout your entire experience in Ghost Recon Breakpoint. So throughout PvE and PvP, you will have shared progression, and the PvP is included at launch this time.
Yes.
Yay. And of course, you will also be able to customize your experience. So you'll be able to play co-op, you'll be able to play solo, and PvP at any difficulty. So we really want to make sure that this game is for everyone. We'll also have a full post-launch plan with a lot of surprises to come. We won't be able to get too much into it today, but rest assured we will have more information soon. And it will release on October 4th worldwide on PS4, Xbox, and PC. So, before we get into Breakpoint, I think this is a good time to talk about Ghost Recon Wildlands, since we just released a prologue mission for Ghost Recon Breakpoint for free for our players, and you will be able to see sort of how these games tie in together. And Matthew, I know it was very important for the team to sort of create this emotional and sort of gameplay journey that carries players over from one game to Breakpoint. Can you explain a little bit more about why that was important?
Yeah. So when we thought of the main antagonist for Ghost Recon Breakpoint, we knew that we wanted the players to fight his brother in arms, a former ghost. And we felt that it wouldn't be enough just to like put it at the beginning of the story and you discover it. We really wanted the players to feel this moment of brotherhood with him, and that's why we introduced him in Oracle, so that you could play alongside him. And then, when you start the game of Breakpoint, you feel the betrayal even more. And the thing is that we also wanted a very smooth transition. We still have a huge number of players playing Wildlands, and we want them to have a gap from Wildlands to Breakpoint.
So yeah, after seeing that trailer at the very end of what we just saw, having played the prologue now, it makes it all that much more impactful and emotional. So if you guys have not played it yet, make sure that you go and do so. And speaking of, while you're doing that, we also have the Ghost Recon Rewards program. So just by playing Ghost Recon Wildlands, you will be able to earn some really cool rewards that will be available day one in Breakpoint. So you get some unique items and customization for playing through the campaign, like beating El Sueño, some based on our thematic Year 2 special operations, for playing Ghost War, and then for beating some of our endgame content like Ghost Mode. So not only will you get these exclusive items, but you will also be able to maybe hear some references to your exploits through some in-game dialogue in Breakpoint.
Yes.
So let's get into the good stuff. Let's get into Breakpoint. Let's talk about sort of the military survival behind enemy lines. You know, what tools are at your disposal, what resources you'll have, and how you can use these to your advantage. So we know our players love to have a lot of different options in how they approach the mission. You can run in guns blazing if you want to do that. You can crash through the front door, or you can try a little bit more of a stealthy approach. So I'd like to start with that one because I know it's definitely a favorite of our community. They like to be sneaky in how they approach the enemy camps. Can we talk a little bit more about the different features that we showed that will help elevate the stealth gameplay?
Yeah, let's talk about at least 3 of them.
Okay.
Well, we got the carry body that allows you to carry and pick up a body and carry it elsewhere. And so, for example, you could pick up an enemy that you've killed silently and bring him to a more hidden area, and allowing you to continue your stealth streak undetected. You could also pick up a downed teammate and be the hero of the situation and bring him to safety, heal him, and then come back to fight. There's also the prone camo that we saw, very popular item, I should say, that allows you to blend in the environment. Part of the beginning of this idea was the image that we saw of the hero in the Predator movie covering himself with mud and then going undetected by the enemy. So we sat down with our spec up consultants and tried to come up with something that could be our version of that. So we essentially studied what the urban prone position could bring us, and then also covering ourselves with the terrain. And so in the end, in the game, you can cover yourself with sand, mud, snow, leaves, and so on, and essentially disappear to your enemy. And this is a feature that's available. It's a skill that you have from the beginning of the game that you can use at will, depending on the terrain where you're at. And it also helps you to either escape or surprise your enemies.
Sounds like you can set up some really cool scenarios there if you are able to plan enough.
Yeah, it's really cool to study your enemy in the shadows. And there's the third item, which would be the breaching kit.
Yay.
And the breaching kit, with that, finally the ghosts are not fenced off anymore. They can cut in and insert through defenses. And that also allows your co-op teammates to follow through with you in those enclosed
So I can
areas.
send you in to do the hard, dangerous work, and then I can follow through after once you've sort of cleared it up.
Yes.
Very good.
It's an unlockable item, so I mean, you have to have it to use it.
Well, I will count on you to unlock it for me.
I will be there for you, Grace.
Thank you. So let's say maybe you mess up your approach a little bit. Again, has never happened to me. I've never messed up once. Joe, I know, has some trouble sometimes. It's okay. Happens to most of us. And let's say that they're a little bit more prepared than you anticipated. We saw during the show that there was going to be some pretty cool changes to the enemies in Breakpoint and that the wolves aren't working alone. So we will reveal a few more over the summer, but we already talked about 3 of the main enemy archetypes during the announcement. Maybe we can touch on those 3 a little bit more?
Yeah. Well, working with the wolves, there are also the PMC, private military contractors, that have been hired to take care of the security through the island. And so what we saw, there are 3 different archetypes, new archetypes that we'd like to talk about today. So there's the rocket gunner. So his role in terms of gameplay is to challenge the player at long distance. It forces them to stay on the move with explosive attacks with cascade effects. So it could be similar to a sniper, that except that now it's not a bullet going at you, it's a rocket. So area of effect, it means that if you are behind a weak cover, you have to move and change your strategy on the fly. And the cool thing also is that their ammo backpack that you can see on the image is a weak point for it. So it's a cool thing to aim for. We also have the Breacher, and again the Breacher pushes the player to change his strategy. It's an archetype of an enemy that goes towards you and that tries to attack you at close distance, and is equipped with a shotgun, and he uses also flash grenades to suppress the player. So you can't let them get close. You have to react. Either shoot him first, or you have to move again.
Flash grenades plus shotgun sounds like a very deadly combination.
That can be
cocktail.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And my favorite is the heavy. So it's really a heavy, it's a armored behemoth that you have to learn to fear. You have to aim for his head, because if you try to aim for his body, it's super protected, and you really have to be super precise about him. And the fact that he owns a minigun and that he can shoot at you, he controls totally the battlefield. And you have to wait until you have a key opportunity to shoot at him. Or you can also try and co-op. You can take the aggro on myself. I can try to flank him and shoot him while he's shooting at you, for example.
Well, thank you.
So you send Joe in to die, and then you sort of clean up.
That's usually our strategy when we play together with Joe.
I would love to see
either
some
he stays in the back playing a sniper, or he goes at the front and to create a diversion.
Your service is honored. So during the show, they mentioned that the enemies will start working together to take you down. Can you explain a little bit more about how that's going to work?
Yeah, well, we made the AI evolve to provide a better stealth experience. So if an enemy becomes suspicious, depending on the risk of the situation, either they will choose to stalk you at your last known position, or they might send out a radio call to call for reinforcement. And then you only have a very short time frame to eliminate the radio caller before things get very messy and you're overwhelmed with all the reinforcement. The other thing is that last known position is handled very more realistically than before. The enemies really need to investigate to know where you are. So let's say we are in a situation where you attack them and they noticed you, you really will see all the enemies go towards you to try to attack you, and they will have to find your last known position, and myself, I can try to flank them.
So it sounds like it might be a good opportunity to cover up with some mud and get into some prone camo and maybe set up a situation.
For you, it can be a good solution.
Or even hide in the bushes, because this is what I really like. They don't magically know where you are. They have to find you in order to shoot you. So it's good.
So let's say that they do shoot you and you messed up and you do get hit.
It happens to you.
Sometimes.
Sometimes, frequently.
Too many times.
We saw in the presentation that there are going to be a lot of cool mechanics that kick in to really amp up that military survival experience. Can you explain a little bit more about how the wound tiers work?
Yes. Well, there's multiple tiers of wounds or injuries that you can get. And essentially, on the first tier, well, first of all, there's injuries and health damage, but let's talk about injuries first. So your first tier of injury gets your ghost limping occasionally, and he gets his stamina reduced. Second tier, your ghost limps heavily and starts bleeding, and the aiming is going to start to become really difficult. On the third tier, your ghost essentially stops running altogether and is stumbling and limping, and he's doing all that with only his handgun to protect himself.
So how do you heal up? How do you get your ghost back into fighting shape?
Well, you can pick up items in the game, and for example, injuries, well, you'll heal yourself through bandages, and for anything that has to do with health damages, you'll use the syringe.
Mm-hmm. So we know that ghosts can get hit, but they always have a way to fight back, and now we have a whole new set of CQC finishers, which I'm very excited about because they look badass, and you feel so cool when you see that animation go off. So Joe, I know you worked a lot on those animations and making sure they felt real. Could you give us a little bit more detail on how that new system works?
Yes, well, we've worked with our Spec Op consultants as victims. They showed us how this worked.
This sounds very good.
Yes,
do you have footage of this?
Well, we have. I can show you later.
Thank you.
We won't show it now, but yeah, well, essentially, and they also are the ones that trained our stunt actors that then performed the CQCs. So the players get a slot where they can equip a melee weapon. So either at launch, a fixed blade or a karambit. And depending on which one you have equipped will trigger a different animation set.
Cool. So it sounds like with different animation sets, maybe there's some different sort of things that you can do to set up a different animation. So like depending on where your ghost is or what the environment is at that point. Can you explain a little bit more about that?
Correct. Whether you're in stealth or in active combat, if you approach the target from the back or the front, or on slopes, or if you spring out of a bush or from prone camo, are all going to play different animation sets.
Cool. So can you customize your melee weapon?
Yes, you can customize your melee weapon, and you will see it in those animations when the CQC finishers are playing. And you can customize it through different skins that are going to be available to put on either your fixed blade or karambit. And those customizations will allow you to fit it with your ghost attire.
So do you have a preference? You more of a fixed blade or a karambit sort of a person?
Personally, I'm more of a fixed blade guy. I'm more of a survival guy, so this is the one I go for.
Okay, cool. Matthew?
Myself, since I love cooking, I would love to have like a cooking knife. And I'm more into knives than karambit, but I don't promise that it will be available in the game, the cooking knife.
Well, I like the party knife, which is what I call the karambit.
The party knife.
Well, what kind of party do you throw?
Listen, I don't want to get into it right now. That's for the post show.
All right.
So we've talked a lot about who you're fighting against, but not who you're fighting with yet. Breakpoint will be fully playable in co-op up to 4 players. But what does the game look like for people who want to play it solo?
Well, we wanted to give the players the full possibility to choose how they want to play. So, of course, you can play up with a squad of 4 ghosts in total, but you can also play as a solo operative. And we wanted to give a feeling of lone wolf here. So that's really the idea. Here we don't have AI teammates. It's up to you. Either you just choose to play alone behind enemy lines, and you raise from the ashes and you fight your enemy, or you can play with your friends, with up to 3 friends.
So one of the features that I know was very well liked in Wildlands was the sync shot. Are they still going to be able to do that if they're playing solo?
That's one of my favorite things also, the sync shot, and we really wanted to keep it in the game, so we decided to make it even cooler. So as you've seen in the video, you can use some mini lethal drones that you deploy. You mark enemies, up to 3 enemies, and then you aim yourself, and you can shoot up to 4 targets at the same moment, and that's super cool.
Very cool. So what happens if you go down and you're playing solo?
Now you will have to rely on yourself. That's also the reason why we've introduced injuries, so you have warnings before you die, but then you don't have AI teammates to come and save you. If you want teammates to save you, they have to be human.
Okay, gotcha. So get some friends together.
Friends or suffer?
So we've spoken about how important it is to create this customized experience, and a huge part of that in Breakpoint are going to be the classes that are available in both PvE and PvP. So we will have 4 available at launch, but we went through 2 of them during the stream, the Sharpshooter and the Panther. Could you guys maybe explain a little bit more about those 2?
Yes, well, for all the sniper players out there, the Sharpshooter is the class to go for. It's skillful, deadly, and the Sharpshooter can load up to 3 bullets, special bullets, that deal extra damage and to the enemies, and then he can also hold his breath longer, giving you more stability when you aim, and he's also faster on the reload of all the long-range weapons.
Cool. And the Panther, master of infiltration?
Absolutely, that's my favorite, playing as a Panther. So still, stealth is really still very important in the game, and you want to be able to infiltrate stealthily. And when you play the Panther, you can quickly engage at close range, and you can retreat back to stealth anytime you want. So it's really, you come out of the shadows and you go back to the shadows. And now the Panthers, they have a smoke bomb that if anything goes bad, they can use this smoke bomb to vanish, disappear, and become invisible from the enemies for a few seconds. And then it gives you an opportunity to counterattack or just disappear if
or
you
run
want.
away.
Or run away if
it's a
you're ready to
legitimate
go.
strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. So Panthers, I have to admit, they don't have access to loud or heavy weapons, but it compensates by they are harder to detect, they are faster to move, they have no damage reduction when they're using suppressors.
Very good.
So it really makes a difference when you want to play stealthy. Going for a Panther is the way to go.
So once you picked your class, are you locked in?
Not permanently. You can always switch classes to bivouac.
So what this bivouac you speak of? What else can you do at it?
Well, bivouac is a safe place to rest and to prepare for battle. And when you speak with Spec Ops, I mean, one thing that comes up really quickly is the fact that the attack part of an operation is really a small proportion of what really happens or goes down through the whole operation. I mean, they'll talk to you about planning, walking, waiting, recon, more waiting, and then eventually attack. It's a very short portion. And so this bivouac feature is something that really rings true to what Spec Ops are really going through in operations. You'll find those bivouacs spread across all the islands of Aurora, and you can either go and try to find them yourself, or you can come across characters in the game that will give you hints as to where they are and how to find them. But once you're at the bivouac, you can heal yourself, you can switch classes, and you can do many other things, you and, of course, your co-op teammates with you.
Yeah, there are different ideas that we wanted to come up with the bivouac, and we wanted a moment of respite for the players to be able to strategize, plan for the next attack, and as we said, we can choose the different classes for each of us, and it's not like we are having a class that we have to decide at the beginning of the game and then we have to stick with it. You still keep lots of progression for your character, and some of the progression is linked to your class, but if we were playing the 3 of us, we can decide to play 3 different classes according to what we want. So even if I'm usually playing a Panther and yourself also you're playing it, we can decide who could be a Sharpshooter, or we could go being all the 3 of us Panthers. It's really up to the players to choose the combination they want to create.
Triple Panther.
Triple Panther.
Yeah.
Pink Panther. That fits you.
Triple Sniper.
Triple Sniper also.
I don't know. With even myself, God gave her grace. I don't know if Triple Sniper is going to work out too well for us, but I believe.
We have to try it.
Yes, we do. So all of this sounds like it can make for some pretty intense combat scenarios, and I know the dev team has taken a lot of care to really find a good balance between immersion with this military survival Spec Ops experience and also fun. So can you expand a little bit more on how we're making sure that that balance is felt in the game by the players?
It's true that with Breakpoint we are putting the mightiest enemies the Ghost has ever encountered. It's themselves, like the wolves were from a ghost. So the game can be very challenging. But at the same moment, and that's part of my job as a user experience director, I want the game to be accessible for everyone. every player should be able to play. So we have still 4 levels of difficulties that allow you to choose what fits best for you. So if you want a hardcore challenge, and I know you like it,
Grace level. It's official.
Yeah,
to change it.
We might call it Grace level of difficulty.
Everyone will believe
State of
you.
grace.
That's even better. So yeah, you can choose to have a very hardcore experience, and if you wanted to have something a bit more laid back with easier difficulty, it's still possible. And
The Joe Show.
Why not? We're coming up with good names here.
Good tribute.
But the good thing is that even if the 3 of us decide to play with 3 different difficulties or 4 different difficulties, it's still possible. We really want players to be able to play the way they want, and we don't want them to not be able to play all together.
So it really sounds like you can make this the experience that you want to have, no matter sort of like, listen, I've got a great amount of skill, but should I want to, relax and take something a little bit easier, then if I should want to, I could play it on an easier setting. Not that I would, though, because hardcore,
Honor.
Nobody will know, don't worry.
Thanks. So we've covered a lot of the military survival features that will be in Breakpoint, but let's move on to the story and the setting. So there have been some hints laid out in the last few updates of Ghost Recon Wildlands, especially in the most recent one with Operation Oracle. We've seen the name J. Skell and Skelltech thrown around. Who is he? Who is J. Skell, and what is his deal?
So what can I say about J. Skell without spoiling too much? He's a tech genius. If you've played Ghost Recon Wildlands, you've seen some hints about his inventions in actions. He's a really interesting figure because he's both brains, power, money, and he has enough to do incredible things. Like, if he wants to create the world of tomorrow, that's what he actually does. He just buys a full archipelago in the Pacific Ocean, and he puts all of his company's skills to develop what would be the world of tomorrow here, and bring all the families, all the facilities for them. And this character, at the same moment, has a sense of naivety and hope that I really like. The idea is that he wants to use this tech to help the world.
And I'm sure that ends very well.
How did you guess?
I watched the trailer, I did. So his tech is being used, perhaps by not the nicest people. So we've met Walker before in Operation Oracle, and now we're seeing him a little bit more differently than what we've seen before. Can we talk a little bit about him without spoiling too much?
Yeah. So if it wasn't clear, Cole D. Walker is an ex-Ghost. You've worked closely with him, and he's a very compelling character with lots of nuance. And what we wanted to do is to allow the players to spend time with him when he was on the other side, before we would have him as an antagonist. And we knew that John Bartle would be a great fit for him. We've seen his movies, we've seen his shows, we've seen how much of badass spec ops he can be, and we felt that it would be the perfect fit for the character. And the thing is that from what you will understand through Operation Oracle where he's coming from, but he has crossed a line that you're not ready to accept. It's not like it's all black and white and he's like super evil. He has a very different stance on the situation than you do. And he makes you his target, and you're going to make him your target, and it's going to hurt. And I can tell you just that he's willing to do whatever it takes to keep his hold on Orowa.
Yeah, he's after watching the trailer now and having played Operation Oracle, it's really hits a little bit closer to home. So if you guys again haven't played it, it will add some context to what happened in the trailer. But since we can't talk about it too much, when can the community expect to hear a little bit more about Walker and his wolves?
So, of course, when you play the game, you'll get to learn much more, but we might come with a bit more details at E3.
E3, okay. You guys heard it here. Ubisoft conference.
June 10th.
June 10th, Monday. Tune in. So we've talked about the people, so let's talk a little bit more about the place. What we've seen so far of Aroa, it's this vast, beautiful landscape. It's got a lot of diversity. Joe, could you talk a little bit more about where Breakpoint is set?
Yes, so your archipelago, it's set in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. And it's this place where the most advanced architectural buildings meet with the wildest and most untamed nature. And to start off, the main island of Aroa itself is as big as the full map of wildlands at launch. So although Aroa is fictional, it's inspired by the real world references. And so the team wanted to combine reality with a bit of fantastical. And so we used the actual inspiration of the Pacific Ocean islands with their dramatic terrain to create this extreme terrain that we're going to be exploring through the game.
We actually had lots of fun to create this fictional island, and we worked with consultants to imagine what would be the world of tomorrow. And the whole island has its own logic. It's self-sustainable. Everything has a reason to be in the island. And I think that players will enjoy seeing how much details we've put in.
Yeah, the logic between the different elements and how everything comes together, the different operations that you have to do. It's really good.
And since it isn't necessarily a real place, though it is based on a lot of real-world references, we have the freedom to maybe play with it a little bit more, potentially in the post-launch.
Gives us more flexibility to expand and grow in the post-launch, add islands and whatnot. Even as you were saying, if you look at the map at the beginning, you can kind of see a few hints of where that's going.
A few hints. So we saw a couple different sort of settings and biomes during the presentation. We saw snow, we saw jungle, we saw some lava. So how are players going to get around this massive world of Aroa?
Well, there's multiple selection of vehicles. The Ghosts can reach their objectives via either air, land, or sea. And there's going to be a greater variety of military vehicles now.
Very cool. So Aroa is where the PvE happens, but where does the PvP happen?
Well, actually, the PvP also happens on Aroa. So the places that you'll get to visit in PvE, there will be, for some of them, similar, or there will be the exact same ones as you get in PvP. It's two different game modes, but it will be the opportunity for you to visit it in both modes.
So that obviously comes into the shared progression that we announced between the PvE and PvP modes. Could you talk a little bit more about how that actually works?
Well, we are really about, we wanted the players to be able to play any way they want. So let's say you have a few hours and you have your friends that are available. You can play in co-op if you want. If you want to focus yourself on the game, either for progressing or investing in the storyline, you can play in solo, or you can play with one friend, two friends. It's really up to you. But if you feel like playing against other players, building your team, but really showing your skills, it's something that you might want at any time, but you could be afraid of like losing time compared to the progression that you're building during PvE. Or if you spend time in the PvE, you might consider, okay, but I want to be fast and I want to be the first on PvP. So that's the reason why we decided to go for shared progression. All your customization will be available in both modes. So the way all your gear, all your weapons, the skills that you unlock, all of that will be available for both.
So when can the community expect to hear a little bit more about PvP?
So what's great is that the PvP will be this time at launch.
Yay, we did it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you'll be able to learn more about PvP at Gamescom.
August.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll have more about PvP in August at Gamescom. So we've talked about sort of the launch of Ghost Recon Breakpoint, but I think we should touch a little bit more on the post-launch aspect of it. There will be obviously a raid, which is very cool, so that's something entirely new to Ghost Recon. We will have a year one for Ghost Recon Breakpoint, which will contain 3 episodes, and there will be Oh, yeah, we got the roadmap on there, so you can see, generally speaking, when they're going to be released. Episode 1 will start right at launch, and we can't share too many details about that right now, but one of the things we really understood from our community is that you guys want a lot of content to engage with frequently, and so we very much have that on top of mind, that we want to give our players something fresh, something exciting to engage with all throughout year 1. So we aim to start strong and keep content updated regularly. So active volcano, raid, lava.
Absolutely.
Very cool. Can we maybe tease a little bit?
Well, as you said, during episode 1, we'll release our first raid for Ghost Recon. So it's a big thing for us, and we wanted to make the best raid possible. We wanted to give the players a reason to build their characters for their ultimate challenge. And since we're in the Pacific Ocean, we felt like it was the occasion to do the best, the more dramatic landscape possible. An active volcano.
I don't think there's anything more dramatic than an active volcano.
All the team was so excited to be able to develop this. And not only it will be a very, I would say, a new environment, but also a very threatening environment. But it will be also the place where you will meet the highest technology from scale technology. So prepare yourself to meet the biggest threats and to have big surprises when you land there.
Uh-oh. Sounds like it's going to be very tough. You need 4 extremely talented ghosts.
Absolutely.
We've got 3 right here.
Come with trained friends.
Yep.
But that's really the idea, since we're focusing a lot on the possibilities to develop your character. It gives you a reason to play more and more and get the best gear, the best elements possible to meet your final destination.
Take on the ultimate challenge.
Oh, yeah.
Nature itself.
The teasing you get just from being in the map and looking at this huge cloud of ashes with this storm happening in there. It's
you want to go there.
Yeah, first thing you want to do.
All right, well, I think we cover most of the topics that we had set to discuss in depth. We'll go over some questions. Well, but first, we're going to do the giveaway. So, as a reminder, we've got 3 copies of the Xbox signed and 3 copies of PS4. Again, these are signed by John Bernthal. So, in the chat, if you type #GhostRecon, you will be entered in. It'll be first come, first served for these. So, if all 3 of the Xbox are gone, then you'll take a PS4. Or, I mean, the value here, I think, is that Mr. Bernthal has indeed touched and signed these at some point in his life, so worth it. So while you guys enter in that, we'll give it about 5 minutes or so. Let's answer some questions from the chat. So, number 1, Matt Radical is asking, is there a battle royale?
So right now, no. The full team is dedicated to shipping Ghost Recon Breakpoint. So there are no plans for battle royale at the moment. We'll see how the game evolves post-launch.
Cool. So I'm going to butcher everybody's Twitch name. I'm really sorry. By Ariasu. So in the end, can we confirm AI teammates or not?
So no AI teammates, if it wasn't clear, at launch on Ghost Recon Breakpoint. So the idea is really a true lone wolf experience in solo, or up to a full squad in co-op.
So you can be that solo operative, sort of taking on Walker by yourself behind enemy lines. Cool.
Painful, but possible.
Painful. So by Bloodshank, which is an interesting name, how in-depth is the character and outfit customization?
Well, we will communicate a little bit more about the character customization later in the campaign, but if you liked what you had in Wildlands, you'll like what you'll have in Breakpoint, even more. Male, female, and we made sure to include all the biggest community requests, including blouse boots.
I don't know, I saw the chat go wild. I feel like there were people who are just sort of tuning in. They're like, what is that? And then the community is just going wild. You can blouse your boots. Yay. So Insanity Brick is asking, will there be franchise crossovers like in Wildlands?
I'm not sure we're communicating on this right now. Maybe when we're closer to launch.
The red dot lowers.
Yeah.
Watch
I see
out,
my boss
Matthew.
right here that is ready to kill me if I say.
He keeps doing this. I don't know what that means.
No, but we have some pretty exciting ideas, so finger crossed.
Fingers crossed. So Experiment 621 is asking, can you play the raid in solo?
No, the raid will be 4-player co-op. It's like the toughest challenge. You have to build your team with you. Choose the best friends of yours to do so. Even we wanted, it's a challenge that has been built so that we really maximize as much as possible all your cooperative skills. So you will really have to organize yourself, think through, and also prepare to improvise, if that's a thing, to prepare to improvise. But make sure that you know how to do your job on each side. So it's really like 4-player co-op experience.
Communication is going to be very important.
Oh yeah,
so
absolutely.
Maybe hold some tryouts before. See which of your friends you like under stress.
Before the raid.
Yeah.
And then we've got from Masterminded, is the game third-person shooter or first-person shooter?
Well, Breakpoint builds on the great foundation of Wildlands, so it's a TPS when iron sights or when shooting, and players can choose if they want to shoot first or third person. Personally, I like to go third person. I like to go TPS.
Even when you're sniping?
Except when I'm sniping.
Sniper headshot god Joe? You? Really?
Yeah, when I'm just going around, you know, all around shooting, go TPS.
Hiding in the mud. So FGM_Guy Smiley is asking, will PvP be 4v4?
So yes, PvP will be available at launch, and it will be 4v4 players indeed. And as I said earlier, we'll communicate a bit more on the PvP at Gamescom.
August. You guys will get more details on PvP. So, Swift you do, and I guess a lot of other people are asking, is this game an RPG? Are enemies bullet sponges?
So, I would say that Breakpoint is more a military shooter. So, when you shoot an enemy in the head, it will die.
Threatening.
Oh yeah.
Make sure you hit the heavy in the head as well.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
You need to practice that aim. So I think that's all the time for questions that we have. And before we head out, let's quickly sort of jump into what's the summer going to look like for Ghost Recon Breakpoint. We hope that you're eager for more information, and we are definitely excited to share more when we get closer to launch. So as we've said during the show, our next major communication will be at E3, so make sure you tune into the Ubisoft conference on Monday, June 10th for some more reveals. Again, we said Walker and the Wolves might make an appearance. Again, you can play the mission in Ghost Recon Wildlands, Operation Oracle, so you can play the prologue to the game before it comes out, which is very cool. And you can also earn some rewards while you're playing it for day one in Breakpoint. I think that's it. So
Winning.
Thank you guys so much for joining us on the stream. Special thank you to Matthew and Joe for giving us some details and taking a break from developing the game to come speak with us and speak with the community. For the latest news on Ghost Recon Breakpoint, make sure you follow us at Ghost Recon on Twitter, and you can also join in the discussion on the official Ubisoft forums. So don't forget that Ghost Recon Breakpoint will be released on PS4, Xbox One, and PC on October 4th. We will see you soon. Ghosts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Over and out.
Over and out.
Soldier. Trained to strike my enemies before they know I exist. Death stalks me, but I survive. Overcoming any obstacle. Never surrender him. my brothers and sisters at my side. There is no fight we fear. So when you take the life of my brothers, when you provoke me, it doesn't matter how powerful you are, I will burn your world to the ground. I'm a ghost too. I would expect nothing less.